Well, you know, I mentioned in another video that I was having a little issue or two with this old Infiniti, so I thought I'd just go ahead and take a video of this and kind of bring you up to speed on this car and show you what's going on, tell you what's going on. Quick backstory: I bought this car back in February and it had about 198,000 miles on it, and I've driven it since then. And let's get in here and do a mileage check real quick, see where we're at for mileage. Turn that thing off because it's always makes noise. So, we're currently at 225,388, so put about what 27,000 miles on it in that time, because I drive a lot. So anyway, it's been very reliable overall. The only things I've had to do, I had to put back brakes and rotors on it. I just put a set of tires on it a while back, and I put a set of hood strut supports on it a while back, and but that's been mainly it. It kind of has had some pre-existing conditions, which I found out after I bought it, but since I got a good deal on it, I wasn't about to, you know, there were people behind me gonna look at this car, so I didn't want to, you know, sit there and nitpick it. It ran good and drove fine, so I didn't worry about it. But what I've discovered since owning this car and putting those kind of miles on it is, number one, it's been very reliable. Like I said, it's not had, you know, people say, oh, Infinitis are not reliable. It is. It's been fine. But it had a couple existing issues, and it's got a few incipient issues. And what incipient means is they're coming. They're on their way, and they're going to happen. So let's get to it. Let me tell you what's going on. First off is this car has always used a little bit of oil, and it's going past one or more of the valve seals. And I know that because when I sit in traffic and I take back off again, I can look behind me and see just a little bit of smoke out of it. So it does use a little bit of oil. It's got a check engine light on, and it's for a few different reasons. It's got one that says it had one for the catalytic converter, a P0430, which means one of your catalytic converters, the rear converter, is not working like it should. So I took care of that. I got that squared away. There's a way to do that, but I can't talk about that on camera. And so I did that, and then it's randomly put a code up, a PO, I think it's a PO400, which is a EGR flow code for that. And that's just basically, that means the EGR system is not working like it should. So that one I've not really checked into. That code only comes and goes every once in a while, but I know that the EGR is not working up to snuff, because I can hear it ping every once in a while. The engine ping if I run cheap gas in it, and so I know that's going on. And then it's had a code periodically that will pop up just randomly for a TPS, which is your throttle position sensor. And of course I know what that is. That's the thing in the throttle body there. That's the connector to it right there in the center of that. But I'm not sure if this one is one that has, the older cars had two throttle position sensors because they had two throttle butterflies on them, and the one is called a secondary for the traction control. That's how the traction control works. Whenever it detects slip back here, the secondary throttle blade shuts off and basically just starves the engine for air momentarily. And I'm not sure if this one does it this way or it's all in the computer. I hope it's all in the computer, but it has an issue, and this is common on these Nissans, that occasionally it will, when you pull up to a stoplight or something, it'll almost feel like you hit the gas temporarily. It'll speed up about, you know, 300 or 400 RPMs, just like that, and then let off of it, and then like it'll just idle up and down. And every time it does that, the slip, I think it's the slip and the TCS lights come on together, and they'll stay on until you turn the key back off, and you start it back up and they're off. So there's been people that have had that problem, and nobody yet has been able to solve it. But since that code comes up from the throttle body and it idles funky right then, I think it's that throttle body is doing that. And it has a couple leaks on it. It's got, you can see that thing back there, the oily looking deal, that's the power steering reservoir, and it has a very minor leak on the power steering. It's not even enough to really drip at all. And then it's also, I don't know how well we can see this without a flashlight, but I've noticed the last few times I've done an oil change on it, and probably you can see the reflection maybe on here, that this oil pan, the bottom of the engine and the oil pan are oily, and it's there again, it's not enough to drip on the driveway, but I see a drip back there, some back in the back there where it could, and that very likely is, I've took it off with my finger and that's oil. So where that's probably coming from, that's probably a front seal that's getting tired and it's just seeping some oil out. So it's, you know, it has several old age issues and mileage issues. You know, I've driven it, like I said, I've driven this thing, driven the hell out of it. So, you know, I've been completely happy with it in that regard. It's been reliable. I don't think it's quite up to par of a luxury car. It kind of doesn't ride like one, you know, but it's a real nice car, and so that part of it's fine. But it's, you know, it's so far it's been reliable. But I also noticed, I got thinking I'm going to skip this, but I cleaned this engine cover not too awful long ago, and I came back out here. I kept noticing stuff that's on this radiator hose right here, and I noticed there's stuff that's just got up on this cover right here, and that's, I'm sure that's coolant. So I started poking around, and I noticed that the seam of the radiator up here where the top tank is, you see how it's wet right there. And my brother was riding in here not too long ago, and he said that he thought he smelled coolant. So from looking at it, I guess it's starting to, the radiator's starting to seep. So I've been monitoring that. I've put coolant in it once. When I got it, it was down almost to the low mark, and I filled it up to the max, and that's how much it's used in nearly 30,000 miles. So and I'm not done yet. And I noticed the last time I went to Montgomery, I ran pretty hard on the interstate, and when I started, this is back when it's about a month ago, I guess, and it was almost 100 degrees out, and I noticed when I would, the temperature gauge on these is like a lot of these foreign cars, and maybe even domestics now, but they're kind of what I call buffered, and they always run at a certain spot, like just down below half, or if you have a horizontal, you know, it'll be about right here, and that's just generally to keep people from worrying about the temperature gauge fluctuating. But the thing is you have to know how to understand those temperature gauges. Normally, when everything's okay, they never move, ever. They'll come up to that certain spot, and that's where they stay always. But this one, I know it goes like that. But somehow I knew we'd get a lawnmower in here today. Let's get in. Oh, Jesus. There's a temperature gauge right there, and that one just normally runs, you see that little symbol right there, it normally runs with the needle right on the left of that, looks like water, I guess, under it, right there at the left edge of that. But I was noticing though, when I'd pull hills and stuff with the air conditioner on and run about 75 miles an hour, that the temperature gauge needle would actually go up to halfway, and then as soon as I would go back down the other side, it'd drop back down to normal. And it's done that a few times now. And so tell you what that is. That is simply the radiator getting tired. It's old, it's probably the original. You see it's already leaking. When you see one doing that and then it's leaking a little bit also, that radiator's on its way out. Because I know it's not a fan. You have to understand cooling system problems. See, when you have something like that happen, when you're under load and you're running at cruise speed and it starts to get hot, that's a capacity problem. If it was to sit here and idle and get overheat and try to get hot, that's because the fans aren't working or something along those lines. That's an airflow problem. So it's not an airflow problem. It's just the radiator's getting tired. So we got that, and it needs 4 belts on it. So, but day before yesterday, I actually had an actual problem with this car. That's why he was asking about bicycles, I guess. I actually had a problem with this car. I was going along through town on the way to work, and I noticed when I come to a stop and I have to idle that it felt like the engine was missing, and that got progressively worse over the past couple days until yesterday. I came back, had to make a 100-mile trip back home from work where I was at, and most of the way it was on 7 cylinders. So of course I don't suggest anybody drive a car on 7 cylinders, but I had no choice. I had to get home, so it's not happy right now. But the lucky thing is the cars that are this new, they always, and like Mr. C's truck there and anything that's new, they the engine computer will record when it detects a misfire, and this one was so bad that the check engine light started flashing. And that means when the check engine light or service engine soon light flashes, that means you got a problem. It's serious. So anyway, I knew what that was. I was like, I said, that's good actually, because that tells me what's going on. In this car, you can't see it, but it's got this coil on plug ignition, which means it's got 8 coils that sit on top of the spark plugs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Except this is 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8. And the code that popped up as soon as I checked it after I got home was, sure enough, it was PO302, which means cylinder number 2 has got a misfire in it, which is the first one over here. So anyway, that again is a very common issue with these cars. These are coil packs, and so I've got, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to try to do something that's ultra cheapskate. In light of the fact that I don't like to spend money on stuff like this, I'm going to take that coil out, and I'm going to try to find where it's, probably what's happening is, if it's like a lot of them, it gets a little crack in it, and whenever you get a crack in the coil, then the spark tries to jump out of that to the valve cover or whatever it's next to. That's what happened on that little Protege I had. And so I'm going to attempt to fix that, and I'll show you how. Because usually it's not dead. The coil, when you cruise along at just cruise speeds, it'll run fine. But you load it, and that's the thing about spark systems. When you load an engine, it takes more spark energy to operate. So that's why that if you have worn out spark plugs or you got a bad plug wire, something's going wrong in there, then it'll run okay as long as you just keep your foot lightly on the gas. But when you start to try to load it and pull a hill, it'll cut up and miss and stuff like that. That's characteristic. So I'm going to try to take all that apart. It's right on the top right there, but I got to take those covers off. And actually this car didn't have those covers. I went to the junkyard and got those, and that's just recent that I put that valve cover back on. So I don't know if that had something to do with it or not. Maybe the heat got to it. But so that brings us to now. So what am I going to do with this car? You guys have asked, you said, well, you trade cars off a lot and you swap cars around, and the simple answer to that, the simple explanation is that, I'm not into spending a lot of money to keep an old car like this going. Now, this is something classic, that's different, but number one. Number two, I don't have a lot of money, so you know, I don't enjoy working on my daily driver like I do this stuff. This stuff is optional. I can do it when I want to and take my time. But when it comes to having to work on something to keep it running, you know, then I kind of start, you know, it's not too much fun. And I'm not happy about putting so much oil in it. And I'm not happy too much about the gas mileage, which this car actually, I'll concede, this car actually does get pretty good gas mileage on the highway. It'll get about 23 on the highway, but when you get in the city, it goes down like a rock. So, I guess right now I've just got some things to think about. I think I'm going to try to drive the other stuff as much as possible and kind of take the load off of this one. And then decide whether I want to go in and fix its problems. I'm going to go ahead and fix the coil pack. And hi, I like your minivan. Fix the coil pack, and I might go ahead and put radiator and hoses and belts on it. But that's about $250 for all that. So we're in the consideration phase. We're in the, you know, like when Donald Trump gets those people in there, or did get those people in there in that show, when he tells them whether they're fired or not. Well, I'm considering whether to fire this car or not. They're a great car. I like them, but you need to be prepared for this kind of stuff. You know, that you're going to have little nickel and dime stuff. So I got a couple options. You know, I'm not going to rush at this. I've got something on the back burner about another rehab project, a little car that would be very good. It's not something common anymore. Would I buy something common? No. That I may pick up as a, like I said, a little rehab project. So no big changes coming here. I'm going to make these repairs I need to make on it to keep it running good, and we'll go from there. But I just want to bring you up to speed. Anybody that's interested in this car, what's going on with it, here you go. And another thing, you know, you get on the Nico for what's they call the Nico Nissan Infiniti Owners Club, I guess it is. It's a forum on the internet, and you ask questions about cars like this. And even though, you know, it's a nearly 17-year-old car, and the ones became afforded even older, you know, these guys are very elitist, and you tell them about a coil pack problem. If I told them that I was going to go to the junkyard and get a used coil, if that's what I end up having to do, if I can't fix that one, man, you would think that I insulted one of their mothers. They'd say, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. You should go to the Infiniti and you should spend $2,000 and get all those replaced at one time. You just can't take chances. You're going to screw something up." Bull crap. What was that creak? So, I heard something creak over there. It's possessed. But anyway, that's what I'll do if it comes down to it. I'm going to try to fix the one that's in it. And I guess only my last little thing to mention about this car is this is the hottest car I've ever had in my life. You know, they've done, they've done tests. People say, well, why are a silver cars cooler inside in the summer? And they say, well, people say it doesn't make any difference. We've tested it, doesn't make any difference. Bull. This thing's 1,000,000 degrees inside when I get, even with the windows open, it is. But so anyway, guys, not meaning to throw off on this old car. It's done exactly what I've asked it to do. And you know, for the money I paid, I have no complaints. But I just wanted to kind of detail things that it's had going on and things that it may have going on. So anyway, I'll see you down the road in another video. Keep it real. Bye.